Are you aware of the new legislation that mandates kill switches in all cars?
Please go watch that video in its entirety so you can understand the things that we're looking at in the future here, and then come back to here. So she brings up all the finer points of what's potentially getting passed and the implications that has. And I just want to reiterate something I've said numerous times, is that our laws are not caught up with technology. And this is a good example of where our representatives are pushing forward newer things without understanding how the technology works and without revising previous laws first. I would love to see drunk drivers be a thing of the past. I really would. I would think that would be great. But this creates a whole new layer of problems that they're not even thinking about. One, let's just talk about the kill switch for a minute. While there is danger of third parties accessing that, guarantee you it will happen. The other issue here is how safe is the kill switch too? Because that's going to stop the car. If they're in a high-speed pursuit and you suddenly stop a car, as it is, they don't clear the highways fast enough. That could be a whole other issue that could cause harm to other people. That's my concern with the kill switch. But overall with these laws, it's too much overreach. All of this is too much overreach. There is a difference between saying we should ban assault rifles and ban firearms and then intruding on people's privacy like this. This is a huge issue. If your calls are being recorded, your data, your private data on your phone is allowed to be accessed by a third party because it's hooked up to a vehicle that you're making payments on or you own, that's a problem. And these privacy issues need to be addressed. It is a major issue. The veil of privacy is becoming so thin, it's almost transparent at this point. All your data is already monitored to a degree, but this is a whole nother level. You will not be able to have personal conversations in your vehicle because it will be monitored to an extent that is so extreme. As it is, you should be aware of something that when I was in education and doing IT, we used to tell students there is no expectation of privacy. And grown adults need to understand that there's no expectation of privacy. But that doesn't cover this to a degree. I mean, it should, and it kind of does, but it shouldn't cover this. You should expect that when you make a phone call in your private car, it is not shared with a third party. This is the kind of stuff that changes how people interact in this nation. As it is, you really can't safely have a conversation in your home around smart home devices because they're constantly listening. And that's something else that needs to be taken care of as well. And we're not. Most people are not aware of this. I would like to buy a new car someday, but this is going to be something that's going to make me want to buy a used vehicle that is pre-2026 because of concerns about stuff like this. In addition, I have other concerns with this that aren't even being addressed at this point. What if they decide to make a law that says you're not allowed to drive an older car because it doesn't have these safety features and mark those as obsolete? Now you're going to be, forced to have to buy a new vehicle. And they're not going to be able to offer an allowance high enough for most people to have to buy a brand new car. In addition, this creates other issues. My partner had an issue where she had an older car that was sold by a smaller lot, and that lot had security interlock devices in case you didn't pay. Her car was paid off. But the interlock was activated anyway due to a mistake at the dealership, and they said they couldn't undo it. But they did, they did nothing for it. I'm sure they would have welcomed her to buy another vehicle. We eventually were able to get that cleared up, but the car never ran again. So we had to sell the car as salvage, and then from there we were able to get a different vehicle. But we still had to put up the expense of getting a new used vehicle. This could become a potentially big issue. What if you make a joke and it's misinterpreted by the algorithm they talk about, or by a member of law enforcement that's listening, or that information gets sold? What if you share a really private detail on a phone call and it's linked to your system? For me, if I'm put in this position to have to buy a vehicle, and this is the other problem here, the first thing I'm going to do as a person that's IT savvy is I'm going to look at if the mirror has a camera in it, I'm going to be covering that camera, possibly replacing the mirror with an aftermarket mirror that has no connectivity. The infotainment system, I'll be looking to mod that if possible. I understand they have over-the-air updates. Those are somewhat necessary in this day and age, which is difficult because if it's updates that help the transmission or engine, you may need those, as it may prevent a recall. And especially as cars become more battery operated, you may get an update that is going to help battery efficiency that's necessary. But at the same time, I don't need updates recording my calls. Hands-free is nice, but that may be something of the past. But if the car's already listening, if the system's already listening to what you're saying in the car and you have no privacy, that could be an issue. People use their cars for all sorts of reasons that don't involve anything illegal, that they should be entitled to some privacy. for me, I would look at, removing or creating a kill switch of some sort that disables the wireless connectivity in the vehicle if possible. But the problem I see with this is they'll make it so that the car won't run if you don't get the update. They will lock you out of your own vehicle from use. You'll still get in the car, but you won't be able to drive anywhere when I say lockout. And your vehicle won't be of any use to you because of the fact of that. This is going to be an issue. Our privacy is getting diminished, and I'm not, if you watch my videos, I'm not one of those lunatics, like a gun-toting lunatic, but this is where there is kind of a middle ground to that paranoia that people have, because this is a real thing that's happening. We've already heard as it is that I think in Virginia, they have a right, a judge ruled there, the Supreme Court in Virginia ruled that, I think it was Virginia, I could be wrong on the state, there is a state that issued this though, a judge ruled that it was perfectly legal for car manufacturers to save your data. But you own the car. Why should they have a right to what you do in your car if you're paying for it already and bought it from a dealership? There was a class action in the state that was going to be against those automakers, and apparently that was shut down because of the fact that they said, per Virginia state law, it's legal. I live in Colorado. We're a single-party record state. What that means is, as long as one party knows that they're recording, the other party doesn't have to know. I think Texas is similar as well. That law, because it's meant for phone recordings and for wiretapping, stuff like that, that law, though, is going to be misused by corporations. That means they can say, oh, it's in Colorado's single-party state, so the car counts. We know we're recording them, so we don't have to inform them, and they don't have to consent. That's a huge problem. And our laws need to be updated. Unfortunately, the people that are in Congress doing things are too old to understand that. And even though they have lawyerly background, some of them, they're missing the point of this. So write your letters to Congress people, do those things. I know it seems like it doesn't make a difference, but at least have it documented. And then we as a people need to come together to get these changes made. We need to be heard. I am going to try to draft something through ChatGPT as I've done before and get it to my Congress people, because this is an issue that needs to be addressed and it is not being handled. Do you have other concerns? Do you have other technical questions? I can answer a lot of these, as I do have a technical background and have worked in multiple IT backgrounds, from MSPs to general customer support. So I have a good handle on a lot of these new emerging technologies and understand what these mean, as I've also had to review some IT contracts as well. So feel free to ask questions and leave comments.